Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Uh, how are we? Like myself, I'm doing fine. Yeah, I don't know how you are doing that side. And this is Mr. Piri, and welcome back on today's lesson. We are looking at the computer basics or computer studies. For those that have interest in computer essentials, computer repair, software and hardware repair, this course is for you. And please don't forget to like, follow and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Yeah, so on the previous topic, some of you that you still remember, we discussed about we discussed on the central processing unit, what is the computer, the components of the computer, the outputs and input, the processor, the hard drive, the memory card, the RAM. Yeah, all these things we discussed, and until we ended on the motherboard. What is the motherboard? What is the RAM? What is the CPU? What is the chip? Yeah, so what is the monitor? Yeah, all these components we discussed. And on today's lesson, not to waste much of the time, we are going to look at the hard disk drive. Okay, so hard disk drive. So hard disk drive is a non-volatile computer storage device containing magnetic disk or platters rotating at a high speed, approximately 700 and 200 RPM. Okay, so I'll repeat. Let me change the color for the color to red. Okay, yeah, not blue. Okay, so I'll change to red instead of blue. Yeah, so hard drive is a non-volatile computer storage device containing magnetic disk or platters rotating at a high speed, approximately 7,200 RPM. Okay, then tips. What is a hard drive or HDD? Very sensitive. Sorry, I made a mistake. Say, why is a hard drive very sensitive? Is the question. Why is a hard drive very sensitive? So the layer between the head and the platter is less than the width of a human hair. Okay, that's the reason why it is very sensitive. So the layer between the head and the platter is less than the width of a human hair. Okay, so this is what they are talking about here. The platter and the length is less than the human hair. So possible problems: fragmentation, lost connection, bad selectors, as well as clinking noise. So these are the possible problems. Number one, fragmentation, loose connection, bad selectors, then clicking sound. Okay, so these are the possible problems. So for instance, for some of you that you come across the hard disk or the hard drive, you find that when they are loading or wants to load or to process, there's a sound from the disk because it's rotated. Okay, so you find that if you don't keep this hard drive safe, these are the possible problems: loose connection, bad selectors, then cracking noise. So you make sure that you keep the hard drive safe. So all these that you are seeing here, these are the hard drive or the storage, but they differ. Oh, sorry, this one Let me clean the screen. Let me clean the screen so that you can see properly. Okay, let me clean. Yeah, so we have this type, that is an SSD. Okay, doesn't use the hard disk. Then we have this type, but what we are talking right now is this type of native hard drive, then versus SSD, solid state drive. That's what it means when you hear the word SSD, solid state drive. Okay, so these are the possible problems of the hard disk drive. This SSD doesn't have a disk. It's more like a memory card. The memory card doesn't have a disk in between. But with this hard disk drive, they have the memory card. They have the disk in between that rotates. Okay? So just trying to show you how a hard drive looks like, an SSD and the disk drive. Okay, so here is random access memory. That is the random access memory. It is the type here. Okay, so RAM, it is a type of data storage. It is a type of data storage used in computer. It is a type of data storage used in computer. This type of memory is volatile, and information that was stored on it is lost when computer is turned off. Okay, so this is where when you are typing anything using the Microsoft Office Word, Publisher, PowerPoint, for as long as you did not save your data, then once maybe by accidentally you shake the power pack or the adapter, you find that the computer goes off. Definitely, it doesn't matter how many pages you have typed, whether it was 100 pages or 20. The moment computer goes off, the entire information will be lost in your computer. So it is very important to make sure that as you are typing or as you are entering information in the computer, make sure you save data immediately to avoid data loss. Imagine you have typed maybe 20 pages, then all of a sudden power goes off, it did not have a backup of the UPS, then you start now typing again. It's an inconvenience and time wasting. So make sure you back up the data. Okay, so it says RAM is a type of a data storage used in computer. This type of memory is volatile, and information that was stored on it is lost when computer is turned off, for as long as you did not save. Okay, so it's different from the hard drive. From this, once the information is in this, there's no problem. Even if your computer goes off how many times, the information will still be there. But with the RAM, this one, then you will still have the challenge. Okay, so here I want you to understand one thing. So when you are identifying the problem, for those that you are interested in computer troubleshooting or repair, so if you want to identify that the hard drive has the problem, definitely when you check at this, number one, the hard drive will start fragmentation. Then number two, will have the loose connection. Number three, will have bad selectors. Then number four, you're going to have a cracking sound. So these are most problems that you can figure it out as you are troubleshooting what could be the cause, more especially if the hard drive is not working properly. Okay, then here on the RAM, on the tips here, So symptoms of defective RAM. Symptoms of defective RAM. So number one, no display in monitor with beeping sound. One short, too long beep. That's the point. So it must have the beep. So no display in monitor with beeping sound. One short or too long beep. So it must have some beeps. Once you hear those beeps, definitely you know that the problem is with the lamps. For those that you are much interested in computer repair, so these are the things that you should understand when it comes to the lamps. On the hard drive is this that I've marked here: fragmentation, loss, connection, bad selectors, cracking noise. All this is a sign that the hard drive has the problem. Then here, no display or short beep or long beep. Then blue screen on the computer. At the screen to show you the blue screen of death. Blue screen of death. That is BSOD, blue screen of death. So definitely you know to say the problem is with the lamp. So these are the things that you need to understand. Then computer randomly shut down or restart. So when you see the computer that is randomly shutting down or restart, just know that the problem is with the lamp. Sometimes it can be maybe like a power issue, electrical fault, but most of the cases, if on the power part everything is okay, just know that the problem is with the lamp. So in a situation whereby the problem is with the power source, so you check the power supply, the amount of the power that the motherboard or the system is receiving. For instance, for a laptop, it must be a 19.5 volts, depending on the make of the computer or the laptop. But most of them is 19.5, 19 volts, something like that. So maybe the connection from the power is also loose. The computer can be going on and off. But in a situation whereby it's randomly shutting down or restart, then the problem is with the lamp. So take note of this. Okay, first you understand what's the function of the hard drive. When talk of that drive here is to install data or information inside of the computer. Then when it has the problems, these are the tips that you need to understand. Then when it comes to the lamp, it stores data temporarily, but in a situation whereby it did not save, it doesn't have the memory to keep that information. You lost it when the computer turns off. Okay, but without the lamp, take note that the computer cannot work. It needs a lamp inside it. Every component is very important or essential in the computer. Without the hard drive, you cannot install data, and even the operating system will not read in the computer despite having the lamps. If you have the hard drive and you don't have the lamps, the computer will not go on. Like the operating system will not read. Even if a computer will turn on the screen, it will show a blue screen with a beep sound, short or long. Those are the possible things that you can, or tips that you can identify if the problem is coming from the lamp or the hard drive. Okay, so let's proceed. Power supply. So we're talking about the power supply here. So here is the thing. So power supply, sorry, I did not want to mark. So a power supply is AC, alternative current line from there. A power supply converts AC, alternative current line, from the mains to usable low voltage DC, direct current power, for the internal components of the computer. from the motherboard. So like I said, this power supply, the power source, the power can come as 240. As we all know, in our homes we use AC, alternative current, not a DC. So and AC, that is 240 volts. That's the power we use. But that is AC. Then a DC, it is the low voltage, like 19 volts, 12 volts, 5 volts, 6 volts, 20 volts, 24 volts. That is the DC. But anything above 120, it must be in the range of AC. Okay? So what does it mean? Let me explain a bit. I make you understand here. Okay, let me explain a bit so I can make you understand here. Let me clean the screen. Okay, let me clean the screen. Okay, so this power supply is going to receive 240 volts power from the AC direct. Now is going to convert this 240 power to a lower voltage, going to a DC, direct current, because it's the one that is required for internal components of the computer. Okay, so it's going to convert this 240 to a 19 volts, 20 volts, 5 volts. That's the main function of the power supply. So form factor, you have 80, ATX, BTX. So tips, symptoms of defective PCU, power supply unit. That's what it means, PCU, power supply unit. So what are the symptoms, the things that you can notice? Okay, the power supply has the problem. Computer randomly shut down or restart. Same as the lamp problem, the one I said, the issue of the lamp. First you check from the power supply before you could point the lamp that is one that has the problem. You need to verify, troubleshoot thoroughly, check if the power supply is okay. That's when you can go to the lamp, because as you can see, the symptoms here are similar. Here, computer random shut down or restart. Then you say it's the RAM. But in this case again, computer randomly shut down or restart. And this part is not the issue of the RAM, it's the power supply unit. So make sure you do the troubleshooting nicely on both sides. You check on the power supply, if the power is circulating in the motherboard to all the parts, and the amount of power that is needed to all the components is converted to DC. Okay, so that is one of the tips you can identify. Then blue screen of death. So even this one again, this one and this one, when you check here, we have blue screen of death, same as this side. So when you check the symptoms, they are almost the same. Okay, so make sure you check properly, because you can mistakenly blaming the lamp to have the problem, but in the actual sense the problem is coming from the power source. So make sure you check thoroughly on the power source. If all the connections are okay, if the power supply unit is able to convert from AC to a lower voltage, which is a DC, so that all the components of the motherboard will receive the suitable amount of the voltage. Are we clear? Okay, so we can proceed. Please make sure you take note on the tips on the symptoms of the power supply unit, as well as on the lamps. Okay, so let's proceed. The operating system. the operating system. Okay, so here OS, that is an operating system. So let me explain a bit before I could go any further. An operating system is the one that makes a computer, as we all know that this is the computer. When you switch on the computer, the first is to start. After restarting, then the computer will process, that is now reading. After processing, is going to bring the windows at the screen. Then that windows is the one that we call operating system. Are we clear? Okay, that windows, it be Windows XP. It's an operating system. That is Apple or iMac, that is an operating system. Android, that is an operating system. Linux, that is an operating system. Windows 7, that is an operating system. Windows 8, that is an operating system. Windows 8.1, that is an operating system. Windows 10, 11, that is an operating system. So when you hear OS, that is a system that makes a computer go on and start doing whatever project or things you want to do on the computer. Without the Windows or without the OS, an operating system, then your computer cannot work. You cannot install data inside it. You cannot put anything. The processor cannot process anything. So they work hand in hand. Okay? That's what an operating system is. I hope you are clear on this one. Now we can proceed. So here we go. Operating system software that manage computer hardware and the software resources. It provides common services for computer programs. So it's a system software that manage computer hardware and the software resources. It provides common services for computer programs. Okay, so like I explained, so the same OS is the one that helps the software resources as well as the hardware programs in order to function in the computer. So when you have a computer or a hard drive that doesn't have an operating system or OS, definitely is going to show you a notification to say, please, the hard disk does not have the operating system. Please install or make a bootable of operating system. Meaning, you can't do anything not until the operating system is installed in the computer or in the hard drive, or you replace the hard drive that has an operating system already put inside. That's when the computer will work. And again, take note, most of the times when you have like Windows XP, it is not easy to install Windows 7 or Windows 10 because it's Windows that comes with the computer. It's suitable according to the version and the processor of that particular computer. Because Windows 10, that is more advanced, so you cannot advance from Windows XP to Windows 10 or Windows 8. Yeah, sometimes maybe, but that is the old model, and according to the version and the processor, it cannot allow to install Windows 10. So they also vary with the processor and the version of the computer. Okay, we don't just select anyhow. For instance, maybe a computer needs an operating system that is maybe OS Windows 10 maybe 64 bytes or 32 bytes. So the one that needs 32 bytes, once you install 64 bytes, you're going to have the challenges. Computer will start performing very slow, sometimes maybe freezing, sometimes maybe going on and off, because the size according to the processor and the RAM is not matching. Okay, so also take note of the operating system or OS. Let's proceed, guys. So these are the types. So this is Windows 8, Windows 11, the one that is in most used nowadays. Or I can't see Windows 10 is here, Windows 7. So these are the ones that are most used nowadays, as well as Apple iMac. But for Linux is there. I don't know this one, I'm not so familiar with this one, but with this one you all know it for an Android. Like Android phone is also a Windows, not a Windows, I mean it's also an OS, an operating system, because for Windows we have Windows 7, 8, and we have Windows 7, 8, 10, and 11. That is for Windows, but it's just the different name. Like Windows something is an OS as well. Android is an OS, iMac is an OS, Linux is an OS. Just that they have different names, okay, according to the company that come up with the same softwares we are using. Okay, so let's proceed. Hardware versus software. So like I mentioned earlier in the previous topic, so a hardware is something that you can touch and see. Then a software is something that you cannot see, that you cannot touch, but you can see. Let me make you easy example. A lamp you can touch and see at the same time. Physically, you can feel it. That is a hardware. A hard drive you can touch and feel it and see at the same time. That is a hardware. Okay? A processor, it is the hardware. A disk is a hardware. A memory card, it is a hardware. A USB drive is a hardware. So on the software part, something that you can only see but you cannot feel it or touch it. Talking about the icons in the phone, just a simple smartphone. We have a WhatsApp. A WhatsApp is a software. It's an app. That one you cannot touch it or feel it, but you can able to see it. That is a software. A PDF is the software. Though it's an app, there's a difference between apps. There's not much difference between apps and icons. On the computer, we say icons that are on the desktop. On the phone, we say apps. Okay? Yeah. Then, like maybe app for audio, for videos, all those apps, you can only see them, but you can't touch them physically or feel them. That's the difference between software and the hardware. Okay, so let's start with the hardware part. Okay, so the hardware part here we have, that is the physical parts of computer, things you can hold or touch. Okay, then software parts, programs and apps that are installed on the computer you cannot touch or hold. Okay, here we go. These are some of the examples that you can refer to hardware parts. So we have the processor there. I can see the USB cable. I can see the fan. I can see the hard disk. I can see the lamps. I can see the motherboard. I can see some cables. So all these things that you can touch and see are the hardwares. Then on the softwares, on the monitor there or the display, I can see the PDF app. I can see the message app, or no, a search app. I can see that is the, I don't know, something like a calculator. So all these that you are seeing there, they are just apps. You cannot hold them. I can see the settings. You cannot hold them, but you can basically see them. Okay, so we are here, and here is the computer parts: CPU, motherboard, memory, hard drive, monitor, etc. So these you can touch them. Then operating system, we have Windows 10, Windows 11, Linux, Android, etc. The Windows, the ones that I'm just from explaining here, this. Okay, yeah. So application systems, Microsoft Office. So a Microsoft Office suite, it's a combination of Microsoft Office Word, where you'll be typing, Microsoft Excel for typing as well, though they all does similar things, but when you go into detail, they have specific tasks that when you want to do the certain job in Microsoft Word, you cannot do it nicely unless you do it in Microsoft Excel. Same as when you go in Microsoft PowerPoint, most is for presentations, like the way I'm doing here, use of the Microsoft PowerPoint. Then publisher, make of the cards, IDs, calendar, invitation cards, all those kind of things. So each system or Microsoft, it has its own specific task. Even though the very task you want to do in Word, you can also do it in the publisher, but it differs when it comes to the features. Okay, yeah, so we can proceed. Here, application software. So application software. Okay, so here we have application software. So here we are here. Sorry, oh come on. Okay, so application software is a computer program designed to carry out a specific task other than one relating to the operation of the computer itself, typically to be used by the end users. Okay, so I'll repeat. An application software is a computer program designed to carry out a specific task other than one relating to the operation of the computer itself, typically to be used by the end users. So who are the end users? The end users are like you and me. Okay, we are the end users of the application software. So for instance, when you hear the word application software, like I have said, Microsoft Word, for me, it's just I use it for typing, for entering data or the information. I am the end user. Okay, the Excel, PowerPoint, VLC, Photoshop, Acrobat, Adobe, all these softwares, I'm the end user. Okay, like VLC is an audio player, or it's a player which you can use to play music, audio, or videos at the same time. I am the end user. Okay, the Photo Studio, where you can use to design something, to edit something, that is a Photo Studio PS. Okay, we are talking here VLC, PowerPoint, Access, Excel, Word, then Acrobat, Adobe, Photoshop Studio. Yeah, so I am the end user. So some examples include PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Internet Explorer, etc. Okay, so these are the application software. So like the application for Airtel Money, they designed that application as a software for Airtel Money, where you can send money, you can withdraw, you can maybe order things online, like for Yango. So that is the software. They designed it in order for the people to start using as the end users, like me, like you. Yeah, okay. So that is the application software. You can understand this more, especially if you want to be a software engineer. That is, if you have interest to go deep into studying the softwares, okay? Softwares and the hardwares. So let's proceed. Here we are looking at computer power protection device. Computer power protection device. So we have UPS. So UPS is more like a power saver, like the power bank. Don't get confused when you hear the word UPS. Yes, that is a power saver. Okay. So UPS stand for uninterruptible power supply. It's uninterruptible. You cannot interrupt it. Okay? You cannot interrupt it. Meaning is a power saver. Once it's charged, it will be there. So when you connect the computer to the ZESCO power or to any source of power that you don't really know how long it would stay, maybe it can go at any time, then you also connect the backup UPS. So what you need to do is this: you get the very UPS like this one, they are all UPS, as well as this one, and this one. All these are the examples of the UPS, though some are converters or inverters. So what you do, you get this very UPS, you connect to the power source. It can be in the house or office. You connect to the power cable. Okay? Once you connect to the power cable, I mean, not the power cable, sorry, I received a phone call. It's one that disturbed me. Okay, but I'm back. Yeah, so once you connect to the power source or at the socket, what you're going to do there is the power becoming from the socket going to the UPS. Then your computers or all your devices are connected to the UPS. In case power goes whereby you did not save your data, it will still give you enough time, maybe depending on the size of the UPS, where you would save your data, you would save your information or your work, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, depending on the size of the UPS. Same applies to the power bank. You charge the power bank in advance. In case in a situation whereby you are in the field, you don't have, where you have gone, there is no power, there is no provision of electricity or source of power where you can charge your phone or the laptops, you start using the very power bank that you saved power inside it. Okay? Yeah. So that's what the UPS means. Uninterrupted power supply. Okay? Yeah, so provides short-term power during power outage. Provides short-term power during power outage. Okay? Then surge protection. So protect the PC from power spikes. Protect the PC from power spikes. Then relate in wattage, watts or VA. So we have 350 watts, we have 500 watts, we have 600 watts, like I said, 1 kV up. Like I said, it's depending on the size of the capacity of the UPS. Okay? So this, they also, I can give an example to the genset, those that come across with the generators. You know the size that you want according to the things that you use. You cannot get a smaller genset whereby you have the appliances or the devices that need more power. Okay, so you match the devices that you have at your home with the size of the genset that you're going to buy. Same applies to the UPS, uninterrupted power supply. So AVR, automatic voltage regulator, that is an inverter now, this one, the one you're talking about. Okay, let me clean the screen. Okay, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so we're talking about this one. Okay, that is AVR, automatic voltage regulator. So it's regulating the voltage. Okay, provides AC line regulations. Ordinary automatic voltage regulator, that is AVR, included in PC. So provide very little regulation. PCs run fine without them. So we're talking here, that's what we're talking about. So several type regulators provides baseline regulations. So here what they're trying to explain here is these are more like converters, like I explained on the power supply, where it's convert from the higher voltage in line of AC to a lower voltage in line of DC. Okay, that's what they are trying to explain on this point here. And here with the size of the power backup that you would want to purchase according to the things that you'll be using. Okay, so let's proceed. We have what we call printers. So printers on the area, I think we mentioned about overview on the printers, LaserJet or inkjet. Yeah, so on the other on overview again, we mentioned something like UPS. It was there, I think you remember, some of you. So types of printers. So we're talking about the printers. What is the printer? You should know the printer is something, it's a device, in short is a device or a machine that gives an output or convert a soft copy document into a hard copy document. When you type anything, it be in the phone or the laptop or desktop as a document, it can be a letter, then you want it to be in the hard copy instead of a soft copy. A soft copy is one that is in the phone. You can have a PDF document that is in the phone. You can only read it in the phone, but you cannot touch it. It's also part of the software, example of a software. But the moment you print it out using the printer, it becomes a hardware because you can physically touch it and see it. So it's a process of interchanging the hard copy document into a soft copy and a soft copy document into a hard copy. If a document you want it to be a hard copy, you need to print it out from a soft copy. Then if you want it to be a soft copy, the very hard copy, you need to scan it again to a soft copy. Okay, I hope you are clear on this one. So types of printers, we have inkjet, the one that uses inks. Then we have LaserJet, it uses the toner or the powder, not inks. Then we have dot matrix. We have multifunction printers like those 3-in-1. It can scan, print, photocopy. Then like this one, it's only photocopy, it's only printing. It cannot scan or photocopy. So it's not a 3-in-1. This one is a 3-in-1. This one is a 3-in-1. This one is not a 3-in-1. So this is the same line and this is the same line. So they are 3-in-1, whereby you can photocopy, you can also scan, you can print. But these two, they can only print. Okay? Yeah. So let's proceed. A multifunction printer, MPF, it can copy, print, scans, and function as fax machine, like I explained. A multifunction printer, that is MPF multifunction printer, it can copy, print, scans, and function as fixed machine. So brand comparisons, we have Epson. Head is integrated into printer, very expensive to replace when damaged. So less expensive, ink consumable, Okay, then we have HP brand and the Canon printers. Head is built into ink cartridges, expensive to replace. Cartridge can only be refilled 3 times. Okay, so here they're just explaining like the comparison, brand comparisons. We have Epson, we have HP, we have Canon. These are the most common brand of the printers. So what they are trying to say here, head integrated into printer, very expensive to replace when damaged. That is an Epson brand of the printer. So also take note when buying the printers, the best printer that I can recommend is the Canon followed by HP. So don't just go in the shop, then you start buying printers anyhow. You go and buy the Samsung printer. Samsung printer, yes, it has very good quality when it comes to printing, even the scanning as well. But the problem is with the sensors. It's need people that have money, a lot of money for that matter, because when it comes to fixing or replacing, if you take that printer for business, you'll be finding a lot of challenges for the sensors. Once one sensor stops working, then the printer won't do anything and you won't make money. So you find that every time you'll be having issues of buying the sensors to your printer. But for Canon and HP, you will be just working throughout. Only the issue of buying ink or replacing the toners. So for the cartridge, you can refill up to 3 times. Okay? Sure. So we can proceed. Like for this, I will try by all means to share you the practical videos where you can understand how the connection are being done, how you can refill, how you can open the printer, how you can check. But what I can recommend when you want to buy a printer, go for Canon followed by HP, maybe Epson, though I'm not well familiar with Epson, but it seems to be a very nice printer, but it's kind of new here in Africa, of which when it comes to repair, it can give you a challenge. Most of the repairs, they only have the HP and the Canon at the moment, as well as the Samsung. Yeah, so yeah, let's proceed. Here, the tips of the printers. So number 1, tips, common problems of inkjet printers. Pay attention, people that have interest in repairing computers and the printers. So common problem of inkjet printers. So number 1 problem is ink pad counter is full. This need to be reset. So when it's full, meaning you need to reset it. Okay, then paper jam problem caused by a crumpled paper, or paper was not properly arranged on the paper tray. So you're going to have number 1, ink counter is full. This need to be reset. So for instance, if you have the wastage in your printer, then you're going to have the challenge. Not until you reset, you will remove the waste in the printer. Then paper jam, in a situation whereby on the in the paper tray you did not set the A4 paper or A3 properly, then when the roller is pulling the paper, you're going to have the issue of the paper jam. A paper jam, it means when you are doing a photocopying or printing, then it did not pull the paper in a normal way completely. As a result, the printer, it did not manage to pull or roll the paper accordingly. So as a result, it has a jam inside. It has not managed to come out fully. So it's going to show a notification of a paper jam. You will need to open it nicely, the covers, then you pull it out. That is the paper jam. Then I'll repeat again. So paper jam problem caused by crumpled paper, or paper was not properly arranged on the paper tray. Okay, then closed printer nozzle head needs maintenance or cleaning. So closed is whereby nozzle head, they have the dust in it, so they are closed, meaning you need to clean them as well as cleaning the sensors in order for the printer to work nicely. So these are the common tips you can identify the symptoms or problem of inkjet printers. Okay, not only to inkjet printers, like for paper jam, closed, they are in both inkjet and laserjet printers. Okay, so common problems on dot matrix printers. So paper, we are here. Okay, so paper won't feed. Paper feed selector was not properly set. Okay, cartridge stops moving, or right indicator start blinking. This is caused by misaligned ribbon or on cartridge. Realigned ribbon and clear path for possible blockage. Okay, then print out is faint, head gap, lava is not in proper position. Adjust the lava in the proper position. So I'm going to send you the videos on how we fix such kind of problems, in case you find the problems like this one, like these ones in the computer, in the printer, sorry. Okay, yeah, so they are just demonstrating the problems, how you can solve them without too much stress. Okay, yeah, so the printer most common problem and the solutions. Okay, so printer most common problems and the solutions. So number one, here we are going to look at the problems and the solutions. So for instance, here we have this is the type of the printer where it says printers most common problems and the solution. Okay, so where can I start? Solutions, problems, problem. Okay, so we'll start with the problem. So mind you, here they're in category. So we have category 1, we have a brand, that is an Epson, then that is Epson inkjet printer, then here is Epson as well. So what I've noticed here is that they chose the Epson printer, but take note that these problems, they are similar almost in all the 3-4 types of the printers, because number one we have the Canon, we have HP, Epson, Samsung. So the problems, they are almost the same or similar, they don't differ. It doesn't matter the type of the printer. Okay, yeah, so Epson problem, no power. Okay, so problem cause power cable is not properly plugged to power source, lose contact. Okay, so problem cause no power, the power cable is not properly plugged to power source, lose contact. Then you're going to have a defective wall socket. Okay, then defective power switch, then defective built-in power supply. So these are the possible problem cause. Then solutions: reinsert power cable to power source. It's more like you connect and disconnect. Then check physical damage on wall socket, that is defective power switch. Check physical damage on wall socket. Then defect built-in power supply, replace power switch. Okay, then replace power supply unit if the problem is with the power. These are the things that you need to do, or the solutions and the causes of the problems. So here is the problem number 1. Then number 2, here we have the causes of the problem and the solution to the problem. Okay, then episode inkjet, blinking lights, paper lights flashes and green lights is on, paper and ink lights flashes, alternately, then all lights are blinking, then paper lights is on and the power light is on. So what causes? Number one, we have paper jam, then we have ink counter is full, we have fatal error, paper sensor problem with scanner unit, paper misfeed. Okay, so these are the problem causes. Then what are the solutions? Clear paper jam, object stuck at paper feed area. They need to reset using resetter. Then check misalignment or damaged paper sensor spring. Clean encoder, sorry, I can't see properly. Encoder disk sensor. Okay, then you can as well as put paper on tray and long press the button. Okay, so these are the possible solutions on how you can solve the problem according to the Epson printer. But like I have said, these problems, they almost the same to the Canon printer, Samsung, HP and Epson. So that's the thing. Networking essentials. Those that have interest in IT essentials, they want to become an IT technician. Like I said, as an IT technician, you cover a lot of things. You need to know networking, a bit part of networking. You need to understand how you can solve basic problems of the computer and the printers in the offices. Yeah, so networking. The next topic, we're going to discuss what the networking is, how you can come up with this networking cable, Cat6 cable or Ethernet cable. Why do I need a network? Network in infrastructure, so types of networking. So all these are the things that we're going to discuss in the next class. This is the D-Link, the switch, then the router, the cables, the twisted pair cable. Okay, so those that are doing the CCTV, they can also understand, they should also understand this part to pay much attention, because the CCTV we focus more on the networking and the configuration of the cameras, where you need to understand twisted pair cables. This is the Cat6 cable. Okay, so that is the fiber optic cable. These are the fiber cables. Then we have basic home office network setup. So this is the if I'm not mistaken, this is the link setup like. Okay, then we have this, the common Wi-Fi router. Okay, common network fiber connection. Okay, that is the fiber modem. That is common network connection problem. So these are things that we're going to look at in the next class when we meet. But for now, we are going to end on the printers and the problems associated to the printers here. That's why we're going to end our lesson. So please don't forget to subscribe, to like our YouTube channel, to support us. Yeah, otherwise, thank you very much for your time, for your patience, and to reach this far. We are humbled and we remain committed. See you in the next class. Make sure you start, so that as we are entering the next topic, also helps you and helping us not to explain much to the things that we have already discussed in the previous topic. As you can see, this thing, they marry to each other. You can see this topic, you find that in the next is also talking about the similar problem. So thank you very much. Please study in advance, pay attention. Like I said, when you have a vision, you have a focus, you have a passion in what you are doing, nothing is difficult. This is the basic. You have already started. So what you need now is to get practice to these devices. Make sure they become part of you, or you become familiar to the language of the computer or ICT, the RAMs, the hard drives, the processor, the CPU, the UPS, the monitor. Yeah, so all those you need to become familiar with them. Otherwise, thank you very much. See you in the next class. Bye.